Okay, today's lesson, I'm going to talk a little bit about some basic theory. I like to call this the anatomy of the key. Now, understanding key is a very important thing as you progress through music, and also if you're moving into the world of like improvising your own lead breaks, perhaps writing songs and trying to work out what your choice of chords are. Now, this is not really rocket science, and theory goes a lot deeper than what I'm about to explain. But these are some basics that are really handy. Now, don't worry if you don't understand it all at first. Just take it in. You can always refer to this video in future, and things will slowly begin to become clearer as you go along. Now, first of all, when you're thinking about the key really determines where the 8 notes live. So all of the rules of a key stay between point A and point B, which is the first note and the 8th note. Do, re, mi, fa, si, la, ti, do. Now, if we were to move that whole structure upwards, say from G up to A, all the rules between point 1 and point 2 remain the same. So the purpose of this lesson is to get you to understand the anatomy of the major scale, and then you'll begin to understand key in more depth as you progress. So first of all, let's just have a quick look at the major scale. So let's take G. So the 3rd fret on the E string on the guitar is a G. And if we go from here, from the 3 to the 5 to the 7, then to the 3 to the 5 to the 7 on the E and A strings, and then we finish on the 4th and then the 5th. That describes the major scale. Should sound quite familiar. Do, re, mi, fa, si, la, ti, do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, with each of these 7 notes, now it's worth learning that major scale, because say if you were to have a chord and they say flatten the 3rd or something like that is indicated and you're not quite sure how to do that, you can work that out so long as you understand the distances between each note in the 8 notes of the major scale. So if I was to flatten the 3rd note, 1, 2, 3, flattening mean going back half a step. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. If, for example, I was to play a chord that said it was, say, a G6, I would have to find the 6th note of the major scale in G. So I start here on the G note, and I climb up the major scale. I know the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that note there is the 6th note of G. So then all I would do then is, say, play a G chord and somehow try and work out how to get that note into the G chord. So I would search around a convenient place on the guitar. There we go. I might do that, right? And now I'm playing a G6. So it's not really rocket science. You've got 7 notes because the 8th note is the same as the 1, and that's why they always represent 8 as infinity, because it just starts all over again. So that's the first part to think about. We've got the 8 notes of the major scale. Now on each note of the scale there also lives a chord. Now what I mean by that is that the chords go major, the 2nd chord will be a minor, the 3rd chord will be a minor, the 4th chord will be a major, and to be really specific, a major 7, the 5th chord will be a major, the 6th chord will be a minor, and the 7th chord will be a diminished. It probably sounds like quite a handful. Here's how I like to tell my students to remember that. Think of it as 2 pairs. So the first note, because it's the major scale, will always be a major. Then the next 2 chords will be minor. Think of minor as being underneath. And then the next 2 chords will be major. So that's not too hard to remember. Major, minor, minor, major, major. Then you've only got 2 more to remember, which is the 6th and the 7th, and that is minor and diminished. So perhaps memorize the first bit first. Major, minor, minor, major, major. Remembering to keep the minors as the first 2 because they're lesser, and the majors as the next 2. Then you just got to remember the last 2, and then you have memorized the way the chords fit together. Now let me give you a quick demonstration. Now I'm first going to play the major scale just using major chords, and you'll see it kind of sounds clunky. Okay, passable but rather ugly sounding. Now we're going to put the correct chords in their place and listen to just how much more elegant this unfolds. Elegantly. Put major 7 there. Right? Now, with the two majors, the first of the majors, which is on the 4, is a major 7, and on the 5th, it's a 7th. You might come across the term dominant 7th, so that's the 7th chord that lives on the 5th note of the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That one is a 7th chord. Now, you don't always have to play major 7ths and 7ths on the 4 and 5, but if you do, it's an extra touch if you were to say make your own chord progression. Now, another advantage of having this information is if you were writing a song and you've decided to start the song in G, then you know which are your available chords. You have a G major, you can use an A minor, you can use a B minor, you can use a C major 7 or a C major, you can use a D 7th, an E minor, and an F sharp diminished. Right, and utilizing those chords, there will be no discord or nothing sounding clunky in that chord progression. Now, if you were to go deeper into jazz, they do have chord substitution. There are always exceptions to the rule, but this is a very good starting place. Now, the final layer of that information is also on each degree of the scale. There also is what you call a mode, which is a kind of scale. So the first one is the Ionian. The second one is the Dorian. And so forth, right? So it's beyond the scope of this first video to tell you all of the modes, but all that really is each mode is placed in its correct position. Now, when you play the scale, you have the first note, then you go to the second and the third, and then there's a semitone from the 3 to the 4. Right, now that semitone in each mode kind of comes closer to the 1. So I'll start the first mode on the G note. I start the second mode on the second note of the major scale, so that instead of being G, we move up to A. And you'll see that that semitone now is not the 4th note, it's the 3rd note. And then when I play the 3rd mode, I actually go up to the 3rd note of the major scale. So instead of it being G or A, I'm up to B, in which case that semitone is right at the very beginning. Right, now we will do further videos to explain that further, but all that really means is there just is the major scale. Each of the modes is just like looking at it from a bit further along its path. I hope that makes some sense. Now, so just remember, major, minor, minor, major 7th, 7th, minor, diminished. And if they follow each degree of the major scale, then anything you play will sound harmonious. That will also help you if you would say to play in the blues scale, which is a minor scale, and the minor scale tends to live on the 6 in the case of the blues scale. Then all you need to do is calculate in any key, find where the 6 is. So say, let's pick a hard key, say A flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so we now know that note there is an F. So we could play over the key of A flat, we could play the blues scale in F, and it would work like magic. Now, we will elaborate on that more, but that's just a quick introduction. Let that get the wheels in your head spinning around, just thinking about how the key is relates to the structure and the anatomy of the major scale and how all that fits together. So I hope that's got you thinking. We will elaborate on that further. I hope you found this interesting and helpful.